Sometimes it's nice to just be nice, as kindness can be its own reward. But do you know what's better than kindness? Actual stuff. Yeah, an actual reward. While plenty of gamers like to play the good guy out of the warm fuzziness of their hearts, a lot of us are in it for the stuff. And if that last category includes you, then I've got just the list. There's no pointless paragon points or gross gushings of gratitude here. Just cold hard cash, sweet new gear, bumps in your stats, a lucrative guild to join, and a cool sword. Alright, there's a little bit of how nice did it feel to do that nice thing in here, but trust me, for the most part, it's because it ends up with an ending where you don't feel like an absolute monster, or you get a full-on tangible reward. And the warm fuzzies. Mostly the reward. I'm Jess from WhatCulture, and here are 9 games that reward charity. Number 9. Keep Shadowheart in your party. Baldur's Gate 3. Many RPGs, including this one, give you a bunch of NPCs and their medium-sized problems, or tiny-sized problems, for which you are apparently the only person equipped to solve them. This isn't so terrible though, as you always get some experience for your trouble. But as I mentioned, we're not here for basic experience, we're here for a genuine reward. And being charitable, as long as the charity leads to something we want. Often when you hand in a quest in Baldur's Gate 3 and refuse payment, the NPC in question says, "Oh, that's so generous, here, let me pay you with a priceless family heirloom." But the reward we'll be talking about is even better. You'll come across multiple characters in the game who are after the quote-unquote night song, and I have a little bit of a spoiler here, so I'm giving you 5 seconds to mute me. It turns out the night song is in fact a person, so handing over said night song is a bit because human being. Now, one particular character called Balthazar wants you to kidnap her and give her to him. You can do this and save yourself a big fight, but doing the nice thing and not giving the woman over to a bloody-faced mage and his undead horde is the better call. This isn't just because it makes you less crap, it actually is the only way to avoid Shadowheart leaving your party altogether. This is because Shadowheart's storyline is tightly woven in with Nightsong and whether or not she chooses to kill her. Once the encounter concludes, Shadowheart will permanently leave the party with some stinging parting words about how you robbed her of her moment. So yeah, better to be nice at this juncture, and for that matter, a lot of junctures, because there are a bunch of things you can do where if you upset your party members too much, they will just take off. Number 8, join the Thieves Guild. The Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion. The Elder Scrolls games are riddled with the aforementioned useless NPCs who can't seem to get it together enough to solve their own problems, as well as generally getting better things if you turn down the cold hard septums. But Oblivion has an even more interesting reward that's set in motion if you're kind and charitable. The central hub of Cyrodiil is the Imperial City, which is divided into 7 districts, one of which is the waterfront. This consists of the majority of the city's homeless, called beggars. I know it's not the best term, but it's the one the game uses, so we'll just go with it. In Oblivion, these beggars are the key to the Thieves Guild, and you need to give them gold and/or ingratiate yourself to them via persuasion to earn yourself an in with the guild. If you want to get access to some of the coolest and most lucrative quests in the game, bar the Dark Brotherhood, you need that hookup. Additionally, you can only get Master Speechcraft training from the Priestess Tandalway if you find every single beggar across the game world, and there's 19 of them, so it's no small task, but there you go. Number 7, the good ending. Life is Strange 2. It's fair to say the majority of games reward good and punish evil, which isn't so bad when you're trading out money for a cool bit of gear. But what about when the reward isn't instant, but a much better ending that won't scar you for life? Enter Life is Strange 2, where you play the elder of 2 brothers who are on the road trying to make it to Mexico. As you can imagine, supplies, food, and whatnot are pretty scarce, so you're gonna wanna get your hands on as much as you can, which means you're not exactly gonna be the most virtuous. The game is super cheeky too, because while you might feel self-sacrificing enough to go without if you were just considering the 16-year-old Sean, you also have your 9-year-old brother Daniel to worry about. So you might assume you'd better break bad and beg, borrow, and steal in order to provide for him. But there's another catch. You see, the game has a mechanic where the younger brother Daniel learns from your behavior. So if you swear, he swears. If he sees you stealing, he starts stealing. And if you do things like lose your crap at people or just get violent and ragey, then he'll start doing the same, which is a problem because he has supernatural telekinetic powers. Since this is the choice-heavy game, everything you do has massive repercussions for the progression of the journey and the endgame. Ultimately, choosing to be nice, go without, not steal, and try to pass on good values to Daniel makes for a more satisfying journey and an ending where you feel like less of a monster. Number 6, massive store discounts. Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption 2 seems like a game where you could just be a badass cowboy and get rewarded for it. I mean, you're literally playing the game as a criminal. Interestingly, though, you'll actually get way better rewards if you play as a nice Western gentleman instead of a bad boy. Without spoiling anything for you, the game hits you with a massive bummer of an ending if you decide to play Arthur as a ruthless arsehole. You'd be forgiven for doing so, since all the funniest things you can do in the game give you evil points, and your fellow gang members can really rub you the wrong way. Like when you donate a bunch of money to the camp and Dutch still hassles you for not contributing enough. On that, it is worth donating to camp as you'll upgrade facilities so you'll have access to gear and different bits and pieces. But most crucially, it's the way to access fast travel, and you're gonna want that. But the best rewards are probably related to cheaper shopping. Save someone out in the forest and they'll repay you when you see them back in town, or take you to the gun shop and offer to buy you anything you want for free. You'll also get better quality loot and new outfits, as well as a healthy discount in stores, which maxes out at a massive 50% off. Comparatively, there's basically no bonus to being low honor other than the joy of being a misfit and the fast cash. So help those strangers pay off your debts and try not to trample NPCs, as funny as it may be. Number 5, super strong party members. Persona 5 Royal. There are a decent handful of games, many of them JRPGs, that feature kindness as a stat that you need to work at in order to make your character the very best they can be. And Persona 5 Royal is one such game. Kindness is one of the 5 central stats, which checks out since the whole game is about trying to help people through their worst and most difficult moments, as well as encourage them to see themselves for who they are and overcome their deep-seated issues. Which coincidentally works out great for you because doing this results in them being way stronger fighters when you do the dungeon segments. In fact, endearing yourself to any of the game's characters, whether they be members of your party or just confidants you get to know around Tokyo, is the central mechanic to unlocking most of the perks you're going to use in the game. Choosing to spend your limited time with a friend and picking thoughtful dialogue options deepens your connection and subsequently their effectiveness in battle. Just like in the real world, characters also really appreciate it when you give them gifts, so it's worth picking up a bunch of hideously expensive bits and pieces so Joker can give them to him whenever he gets the chance. It's good for the gameplay, it's just rough on your wallet. Ranking up your kindness stat isn't just a good idea, it's essential if you want to hang out with characters like Ann or Futaba. And if you don't hang out with them, you'll be unable to rank them up to the powerful party members they can become. Number 4, Aerondight. The Witcher 3. Geralt can be a surly dude, but to his credit, he does take on a bunch of wild gigs, and he ends up doing plenty of kind things for people anyway. A simple reward that not everybody knows about is that if you turn down money for a gig, you'll actually get more experience in return. But the reward we're talking about is a little more complicated and a lot more exciting than that. The quest There Can Only Be One will ultimately reward you with the legendary silver sword Aerondight, bestowed on you by the Lady of the Lake. The quest is a touch obtuse though, and actually makes a note of your actions throughout the Blood and Wine expansion. You need to prove you have each of the chivalric virtues, which are valor, honor, compassion, generosity, and wisdom. I don't know about you, but I think we can chuck 2 of those, if not 3, comfortably under the charity category. There are loads of ways you can go about this, sparing lives, enthusiastically parting with your money, refusing rewards, and generally being a good dude. You'll also need to kill some stuff for the valor bit and know some stuff for the wisdom bit, but charity is doing the heavy lifting here. And what do you get for it? A sick sword. Nice. Number 3, hero powers. Infamous 2. Yeah, the game's called Infamous, but you're actually better off being a nice guy if you want the best rewards the game has to offer. That isn't to say it's not narratively or mechanically interesting to go full bad dude, but you're gonna have a better time narratively and mechanically if you decide to fight your instincts and lean into Infamous 2's hero route. This is largely because lots of players reported having a better time with the hero abilities, like the machine gun bolt stream or the ice grenades that explode on impact. The best icy time you'll have, though, is the awesome traversal power Ice Launch, which makes catapulting yourself across the city much more efficient, and let's face it, just a lot more fun. On top of some of the best abilities, being good guy Cole means you won't have to fight the cops, and the civilians will eventually feel the fire of revolution and start attacking the bad guys themselves. This is in stark contrast to the baddie route where they'll throw rocks at you and tell you to get out of town and unalive yourself. When you're good, though, the civilians tell you you're hot, so maybe that's a better reward. Is it? I could have titled the entry that. Let me know. Number 2, a potentially life-saving health boost. Elden Ring. The last couple of entries we have on this list will give you the warm fuzzies, not just because they're lovely things to do for your fellow IRL man as opposed to NPC man, but because you get a little something back for doing them. Souls games and Elden Ring let you leave little messages for your fellow likely suffering players that they can read in their own games and approve of if they so choose. This is the situation in which it definitely pays to be nice or supportive or entertaining, as you're more likely to get approval on messages that are telling players about an enemy that might be up ahead, or that a chest actually has teeth, or maybe it's just you found a clever way to combine the words butt and hole. If you want to see some joy in the world, the Elden Ring subreddit is peppered with videos that show how someone narrowly avoided death thanks to a health boost that came from others appraising their messages. So keep on appraising. Number 1, level up faster and increase your bridge link. Death Stranding. Death Stranding is a single-player game where you venture alone between small settlements in a post-apocalyptic United States. Things can feel pretty isolating, but there's a cooperative style mechanic which involves setting down emotes for other players to see, leaving items in postboxes for them to pick up, and going as far as to build structures like protective timefall shelters or even roads and bridges to help them on their journey. It's really something when you're running low on gear and you find that you're about to get stuck in some timefall that will probably kill you off, and then just when you think all is lost, there's somebody's timefall shelter that you can just sit under until it passes. You only see other people's structures once you finish the main mission objectives in the area, but being able to use shelters, roads, and bridges, especially in the late game, is a massive help. Creating these means you get likes too, and likes boost your bridge link, which in turn contributes to your level progression and opens up the ability to form strand contacts with more players, meaning you're more likely to see their items, equipment, and structures in your game. Ergo, being nice gets you that sweet, tangible reward. On top of that, leveling your bridge link and getting more strand contacts ups the number of buildings that you can cooperatively create with other players, which is super helpful if you've ever tried to build a bridge by lugging all of the materials yourself. There's a beautiful moment where you need to venture back across the entire continent, and you can really appreciate the extensive user-built roads and bridges. Loads of these cover the terrain over threatening areas, consequently letting you soar above a BT minefield that probably had you overwhelmed the first time through. You can drop multiple thumbs ups on every rope, bridge, shelter, construct, and emote you see, which will help the player who placed it level up, and you receive the same back for your contributions. While the world of Death Stranding can often feel really isolating and devoid of life and cold, this co-op feature is really cute. It's injecting this sort of multiplayer cooperative community aspect into a single player game. I mean, it's even nice when a bunch of people pee in the same place and then mushrooms grow. Yeah, it's a weird game, but I like it.